We are here in beautiful Tampa, Florida, and we are going to be going on an exclusive ride-along with Lara Trump, who has completely transformed and united the RNC under her leadership as its newest co-chair. She will be leading an election integrity event, and we will be traveling with her along the way to get an exclusive inside look as to how the Republican Party is planning on securing our elections to ensure there is no repeat of 2020. The stakes are high, and hardly anyone is working harder than Lara Trump. Hey, gang's over here.
To introduce my friend Lara Trump.
If you would have come up to me a year ago and said, guess what you're gonna do? This time in a year, you're gonna be the co-chair of the RNC, I would have said you're crazy. He sort of propositioned this to me, and my immediate reaction was, no, I don't have time to do this. And here we are in Tampa, Florida. My kids right now are hundreds of miles away. But I felt like something was really pulling me to do it, and I looked at them and I said, I think it's because of them that I have to do it. And so I called my father-in-law back and I said, I'll do it. I'll go in there. I'll go be the co-chair of the RNC.
Kind of like Trump's phrase, never surrender.
I guess so. Well, we're not surrendering. Yeah, we have another option.
Tell.
So we're here today in Tampa. We're about to go in, and we're going to talk to a group of people who will be trained as poll watchers, poll workers, a lot of legal experts who are going to train on election integrity. And we want to make sure that we are focused on exactly that in the state of Florida, Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, you name it, across the country. We have to focus on that. And so we're here today to get everybody excited to get them started and kick off this big event.
If you are a person who is going to cheat at an election, we will find you, we will track you down, and we will prosecute you to the full extent of the law.
Election integrity is a top concern among voters, and volunteers being trained told us they are thrilled with the RNC's efforts.
Yes, we are. That's great.
Yes.
I think it's very important to protect the vote.
These guys get as close to the voters as they can. They work like nobody else. Democrats are stuck in their ivory towers in D.C. campaigning on MSNBC. These guys show up where people vote, at their homes, in their communities. They work hard.
We have the greatest co-chair in the history of the RNC in Lara Trump. All of the laws, all of the regulations in every state, we need them focused so that we are going to have a fair, accurate, secure, and transparent election. Basic rules. Only American citizens can vote.
In the president, when it happened, many of us were watching it on TV. But I think it gives new meaning to he's out there fighting for us, so we have to fight for him.
So what should people know about Trump that most people don't know? What's a surprise?
I mean, I don't know if there's any surprise. I think you really have seen, especially in the wake of this horrific assassination attempt on him, that there's a human being in there. And I think people forget that with him oftentimes. You know, this is a man who, gosh, you want to talk about a hustler and a worker. It's Donald Trump. I mean, this is a guy who changed the skyline of New York City. Obviously became the household name that we all became familiar with. And he knew if he took on the Washington establishment, if he ran for president as a Republican, and he did the things and quite frankly said the things that needed to be done and needed to be said, people were not going to like that. And there would be a lot of people who attacked him for it. And he went into it knowing that. Obviously, who would have ever thought it would escalate to where things have gone? But he also didn't have to do it a second time. And I don't know that he gets enough credit for that, because you think back to his first term in the White House, and the sad part to me is imagine had he not had so much incoming, what he could have accomplished, because gosh, he had so much accomplishment in his first term as president. If he didn't have the constant fight from the Democrats, the media, he probably would have been able to do more. He came back to do this job knowing how hard they would push back against him, how much they would fight him, and how much he personally was going to pay the price for it. I mean, Donald Trump's the only person who has gone into the White House and come out with less money on the other side.
Right.
He didn't take a salary for 4 years. His personal wealth and personal value has decreased because of this. You look at the lawsuits, the amounts of money he's had to pay, all of it, and he's willing to do it because I do believe he knows he's the only person who can truly do what we need in this country for this moment. And I don't ever think he gets enough credit for that, but he's a human. He's an amazing father-in-law. He's a great grandpa. My kids love him. They love seeing grandpa on TV all the time.
Yeah.
They couldn't wait to come out to the convention to see him. You see it, I'm sure people saw the video when my husband was speaking. My kids came up because I wanted them to come sit with me while Dad was talking. And they immediately my daughter jumps on grandpa's lap.
Yeah.
That's Donald Trump. And that's the side I hope people maybe got a little bit of a glimpse into over the course of the past several weeks that perhaps you didn't know existed. So I hope people remember that.
How is the RNC planning on keeping the momentum that we had after the convention all the way through November?
Well, we have to, I think, and I think it's organic. They're clearly on the left right now trying to manufacture some sort of momentum with Kamala Harris. People have to go back and remember with Kamala Harris, this is a woman who was incredibly unpopular. She couldn't even make it to her home state of California voting in the primaries for the 2020 election cycle. She dropped out in 2019, if people recall, because she was polling so low, because she has a very high unfavorability rating. They're trying to get all this steam behind her and get the Kamala's brat and all this crazy stuff out there. I think they'll get a bump temporarily, but I think once people start to see who Kamala Harris truly is, I think we're going to see that change, because you go back and look at the debate performance she had against Mike Pence in 2020. Go back and just look at her basic interviews. Once people start to see who Kamala Harris is, I think the shine's going to wear off pretty quickly. And so, look, as far as we're concerned at the RNC and the Trump campaign, our goal is still the same, and our trajectory, I believe, will still be the same, and the tactics will still be the same, which is that we have to go out and remind people about how their life was when Donald Trump was in office. It's the old, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Every bad policy decision Joe Biden made, Kamala Harris made right alongside of him. And people can look back and say, wow, when Donald Trump was president, I had more money in my pocket. I felt like we were strong on the world stage. We were certainly respected by our allies. We were certainly respected by our enemies. We had a secure southern border. The things that are major issues right now in our country really didn't exist in the same way that they do right now. And the only difference is the change in leadership at the top. Donald Trump brought it to you one time. He knows how to bring it to you again. He will bring it to you again. And the best part is a second round of Donald Trump, and this is especially why they don't want to see him in Washington, D.C., is he figured them all out there.
Right.
There was a learning curve. There's no doubt. He was not a politician. He was a businessman. He got in there, and now he knows all the players. And now he knows who these people are, and he knows who to trust, who not to trust, and they are terrified of that. So our strategy will continue to remain reaching out to the American people. Donald Trump wants to go to places the Democrats don't want him. You've seen him in...
Come to Seattle.
Yeah, maybe soon. You've seen him in North Philly. You've seen him in Detroit. You're going to continue to see Donald Trump show up places they don't expect, a la the Bronx rally, 25,000 people strong. So we're just going to continue on in that fashion. And I believe once people are exposed to Kamala Harris, we know they've been exposed to Donald Trump, who he is and what he stands for. I think they're going to very quickly realize, if they don't already, the only vote is for Donald Trump.
Right, and the thing is that Kamala Harris has never been popular, so it's so interesting that they're just going all in on Kamala, and they're propping her up as this pro-woman candidate. But if you look at it, what is she really pro-women of? Because she was in charge of the border that allowed illegals to come in and actually rape and kill our women. So how is that pro-women?
Well, let's talk about the fact that the women who actually make that treacherous journey up through the southern border, I think a third of the women are raped or sexually assaulted on their trek up here. The idea that we have just opened up the border to allow everyone to come in, do you think they're coming in now for some specific reason? Yeah, they are, because they know they can get in. They know they will be sent to a major city. They know that the major cities are sanctuary cities or sanctuary states where their lives will be essentially paid for. We've incentivized this to happen. And by we, I mean the border czar herself, Kamala Harris. So I can't think of a less pro-woman stance than that. Yeah, they're going to try to use identity politics. There's no doubt. Because quite frankly, it's the only thing they have. They cannot point to a single policy decision that Joe and Kamala made that has bettered the life for any single American. Every person in this country is having a harder time getting by right now based on the things that they put in place, the policy decisions that they made. She has to own all of those, and actually she's even more radical than Joe Biden. She was rated as a senator the most far left senator in the United States Senate, farther left than Bernie Sanders at the time. So if you think about the fact that the same apparatus around Joe Biden, who's propped him up for years, which, let's face it, that's what's been going on. It's not as though Joe's been making any of these decisions on his own. They're the ones who shoved him down the American people's throats in 2020, have propped him up, have kept him hidden and out of view, have been making the major decisions in this country. These are the same people who said, hey, Joe, we're done with you. You've got to go. It's Kamala's time now. We're all going to get on the bandwagon with her. Those will be the same people making the same decisions for this country should she ever, God forbid, become president of the United States. Nothing changes except for the fact that she is even more radical than Joe Biden. So some of the things might be even more egregious than they already are.
Yeah, definitely. And what's insane is we watched a Democrat coup happen right before our eyes, and they want to say that Trump is a threat to democracy, but they just disenfranchised 14 million voters, and now they don't get to choose their party candidate. Why?
It is a great question, and I actually would say clearly that the Democrat Party is the least democratic thing that I could even imagine. If you look back, though, they started this during the primaries. You had people like Dean Phillips, RFK Jr., who said, hey, we want a shot at becoming the Democrat nominee for president. They completely pushed those people out, shoved Joe Biden in, made sure that he was the only candidate, much like, quite frankly, what happened with Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton in 2016, if you go back and look. And now you've had 14 million votes cast for Joe Biden, to your point, and the Democrat voters are like, well, wait a minute, we didn't vote for Kamala Harris, we voted for Joe Biden. So when do we get a say? You don't get a say in the Democrats' America. They're going to go ahead and do whatever they want to do, and you're going to like it and you're going to shut up about it, is essentially the messaging that they are sending out there to all of their voters. So I hope their voters are paying close attention. You didn't get to choose anybody. They told you who the candidate was going to be. They're going to choose the VP running mate for her. And this is the interesting thing that always gets me too. They are not actually interested in any way in choosing a true leader for this country, choosing the best two people to lead America. The only strategy that they're putting into choosing the running mate for Kamala Harris is how does the math work out with that person to get them to 270 electoral votes so that Kamala Harris can become the next president of the United States. They don't care if that person is good for the country, bad for the country. They care about the votes because these people will literally do anything they can to retain power.
As you can see, the GOP is in it to win it and fighting hard to ensure a victory for Donald Trump this November. The election of a lifetime is just a few months away, so if you would like to get involved in the RNC's efforts, you can go to protectthevote.com. Again, that is protectthevote.com. And if you enjoyed our reporting today, please go to the Post Millennial and subscribe to support independent media. I'm Katie Davis-Court reporting for the Post Millennial. See you next time.